Hey everyone, how's it going? So alternate ammo types have been a thing since Black Ops 3, and I haven't really paid too much attention to them since then. Whenever a new game comes out, I always assumed that the alternate ammo types worked similarly to how they did in Black Ops 3. But that game is 5 years old now, and I decided I should look into them once again and see how they work in Cold War and how they differ from previous versions in Black Ops 3 and 4. And once I did that, I realized there were a lot of misconceptions I had about alternate ammo types and how they worked. So I decided to take what I learned and share them with you by ranking every alternate ammo type not just in Cold War zombies, but in Black Ops 3 and 4 as well. So here's how this is going to work. We have 13 different alternate ammo types between Black Ops 3 and 4 and also Cold War. Most of them are shared between multiple games. For example, there's some version of Turned, Deadwire, and Blast Furnace between all of those games. But because they operate so differently from one another in each game, I decided that the most accurate way to rank all of these would be to split them up by game. So we'll have 3 different versions of Turned, Deadwire, and Blast Furnace in different spots in the list. And the way I'm ranking these isn't all that strict. I playtested them all, and through a combination of my own experiences and each one's individual stats, I decided which were the best and which were the worst. It isn't super scientific, since whether some of these are good or not is really situational. We'll go into detail as we talk about each one, so let's do that. Starting with the worst alternate ammo type of all time, we have Cryo Freeze in Cold War, and boy howdy do I have a lot to say about this one. A lot of the list is ultimately going to come down to opinion and personal preference, but I don't think anyone could argue that there's another AAT that's worse than Cold War's Cryo Freeze. When Cryo Freeze activates, it will slow a single zombie down by 50% for a couple of seconds. And that's it. It doesn't do damage, it doesn't affect multiple zombies, it just slightly slows down one zombie for a little bit and then it's done. Do I even need to explain why this is bad? Like, how am I even supposed to use this in a competitive way? Slowing down zombies isn't super effective in a training strat, and while it would be useful in theory if you're camping, slowing down a single zombie isn't going to make the difference in your game. It's one of those things where you look at it for 2 seconds and you have to ask yourself whether the developers playtested this feature, because there's no way that anyone would look at this and think it's at all useful in this state, let alone on the same level as the other 3 AATs in Cold War. And what's crazy about this is that Cryo Freeze was in Black Ops 4 Zombies, and it was really good in that game. We'll talk about that version of the AAT later on, but Black Ops 4 Cryo Freeze is one of the better AATs in that game. So why were these changes made? I can't imagine they thought these changes made the game better and more balanced, since they made it do almost nothing. At that rate, you might as well just take out Cryo Freeze altogether. And it's not like it was crazy overpowered in BO4 either, it was probably the least used AAT in that entire game. I just don't get what they were trying to do with this one. I can't even recommend this to anyone. With most of the upcoming AATs, even if I don't like them, I can at least say, oh, this can be used well in a training strategy or something along those lines. I can't say that about this one. Again, there's no way to use this in any meaningful way. Thankfully, in Cold War, we can pick which AAT we want by hand, so we can choose to completely ignore Cryo Freeze until Treyarch decides to seriously buff it. Up next, we have Napalm Burst, also from Cold War. Cold War changed up how Blast Furnace works, and is not at all like it was in previous games. In Cold War, Napalm Burst will only deal 50% of a single zombie's health over the course of its 10-second lifespan. You heard me correctly, not 50% of the health of an entire horde of zombies, just 50% of one single zombie's health. There's a couple of problems with this. For starters, 50% of a zombie's health is worse than the 100% of health from Blast Furnace of Black Ops 3 and Firebomb of Black Ops 4. So we're already taking a huge step down in lethality. The second and most obvious problem is that just like Cryo Freeze, it's only affecting a single zombie. That alone makes it entirely pointless. 50% of a single zombie's health just isn't worth considering, especially when there are better options out there. If Treyarch changes this in Cryo Freeze to affect an entire horde of zombies, these two would be in a much better spot on this list. Unfortunately, that's not what they've done, so we just have to hope they buff these two at some point in the future. At the next spot, we have Kilowatt from Black Ops 4. Now, while I have Kilowatt just above Cryo Freeze and Napalm Burst, there is a world of difference between the two. Kilowatt isn't good, but it is usable. The thing with Kilowatt is that it's an objectively worse version of Deadwire from Black Ops 3, and it's significantly worse than every other AAT in Black Ops 4. It can only kill around 5 zombies at a time, which just isn't good enough. That's kind of all there is to say about Kilowatt. It's a worse version of Deadwire that doesn't stand up to the other AATs in Black Ops 4. There's no situation where you should be using Kilowatt in Black Ops 4. Every other AAT will do better in just about any situation, depending on which one you have with which strategy you're using. And we've made it to the number 10 spot, and this is going to be Thunderwall from Black Ops 3. Thunderwall can really only kill a couple of zombies if they're really close together. It's not an effective way to kill a horde of zombies, but it can be extremely useful to get a single zombie out of your way. A lot of people will put Thunderwall on a KRM or a Haymaker and use it almost like a mini thunder gun to get zombies out of your way while training. And it does this job really well, but it's the only job it can do, so it's not exactly versatile. It's also worth noting that you don't really need Thunderwall in Black Ops 3. With Double Tap and a Pack-a-Punched KRM, you can get zombies out of your way without Thunderwall until at least round 30, and you can always use Gobbleguns or Wonder Weapons to do a similar job. That being said, Thunderwall does have a role in the metagame, even if it's not a very prominent one. And while we're talking about Black Ops 3, let's talk about what's at our number 9 spot, which is Fireworks. In a lot of ways, Fireworks is the antithesis to Thunderwall. Fireworks has incredible range. The zombies don't need to be close to get killed, and instead of having a niche role like Thunderwall, Fireworks is more of a jack of all trades, master of none. It's good in just about any kind of strategy, but it doesn't particularly excel in any area. It also has a pretty long cooldown that makes it hard to use. But going back to Black Ops 4, we have Brain Rot at the number 8 spot. Not unlike what Kilowatt was to Deadwire, Brain Rot is essentially just a worse version of Turned from Black Ops 3. Brain Rot takes 3 times longer to charge than Turned, and when you actually use it, it only lasts half as long. And because there's such a long cooldown and the Turned zombie doesn't last that long, you can only ever have 1 Turned zombie on the map at any given time, whereas with Turned, you could have 2 on the map at once. The only reason I have Brain Rot above Fireworks is because it's far more consistent in terms of kills per use, and its niche is a little more defined than Fireworks. This one could go either way though. And since we're talking about Brain Rot in Black Ops 4, we might as well talk about Brain Rot in Cold War. The two AATs are largely the same between the two games. The only reason I have the Cold War version above the Black Ops 4 version is because after the Turned zombie dies, the Turned zombie will explode, and that can be useful for either killing or slowing down more zombies that were around it. It was a nice touch that just causes the Cold War version to edge out the Black Ops 4 version, otherwise they're almost exactly the same. Sticking with the theme of worst version of previous AATs, up next we have Firebomb from Black Ops 4. Firebomb, as you might expect, is just a worse version of Blast Furnace from Black Ops 3, but unlike Kilowatt and Brain Rot, the changes are a little more subtle. The blast radius of Firebomb is a little smaller than Blast Furnace. If you're trying to take out an entire horde, you might find 4 or 5 left over consistently, whereas Blast Furnace would have killed the entire horde. The most noticeable change between the two AATs is the recharge time, but it'll take you some time to regather the horde anyway, so it's not all that detrimental. And we might as well wrap up Black Ops 4 with the number 5 spot, Cryo Freeze. Cryo Freeze was an AAT I never really used when Black Ops 4 was in its prime, and after using it for this video, my eyes have been opened. Cryo Freeze is actually really good, though it leans more towards a camping strategy than a training strategy. Unlike Cryo Freeze in Cold War, every single shot with the Black Ops 4 version will slow zombies down to a grinding halt, and if you continue shooting the zombies, they may eventually explode and shoot icicles into the surrounding zombies. It's incredible for camping since you could slow zombies down and thus give you more time to deal damage, and it could also in theory block zombies at the back of the horde from reaching you, which will again give you more time to deal damage. But even if you're training, it's not bad to have, though I wouldn't recommend it. I would say the optimal AAT loadout for Black Ops 4 is to have one weapon with Brain Rot, since it's good in both a camping and a training strategy, and then one weapon with either Firebomb or Cryo Freeze depending on whether you're camping or training. I could have put Firebomb in this spot, but I decided to have Cryo Freeze higher since it's good in both a camping and a trading strategy, whereas Firebomb isn't super useful if you're camping. Moving into the number 4 spot, we have Blast Furnace from Black Ops 3. Blast Furnace can consistently insta-kill an entire horde of zombies with a single use, making it just as powerful as a Thunder Gun shot. I'd say that's pretty good. The only reason Blast Furnace isn't any higher is because it's only really effective in a training strategy. It can kill an entire horde, but that horde needs to be grouped up pretty tight to make it happen. So it's not super useful in a camping strategy or in a hoarding strategy where the zombies are in more of a line rather than a tight cluster. But if you can make it work, you can basically turn any wall weapon into a wonder weapon. But that wonder weapon isn't as good as Turn, which is in our number 3 spot. Turn doesn't have the kill potential that Blast Furnace does. You're not going to be able to take out an entire horde with a single turned zombie. However, Turned is far more versatile than Blast Furnace. Turned is great in both a camping and a training strategy, which makes it ever so slightly better in my opinion. You also don't have to worry about the blast radius of Blast Furnace with Turned, which is nice. And continuing the train of Black Ops 3, we have Deadwire. In a lot of ways, Deadwire is similar to Blast Furnace, but with a few quality of life improvements. For starters, Deadwire doesn't kill the entire horde, instead it only kills around 10 zombies. At first that might make it seem worse, but it's actually an advantage, and here's why. If you kill an entire horde at once, all 24 zombies are going to spawn in again at the same time, which means you'll have to horde another 24 zombies together, which can be incredibly dangerous. If you only kill 10 zombies at a time, you'll only have to worry about hoarding another 10 zombies together, which is obviously much safer. Additionally, Deadwire recharges 3 times faster than Blast Furnace, so you can use it way more often, which definitely helps make up for its killing potential. Reminder that this whole list comes down to personal preference, but these last 3 are especially preference and strategy based. You're really not going to go wrong with any of them. But Black Ops 3 Deadwire isn't the best AAT. Topping off my list of every AAT is Deadwire again, but this one is from Cold War Zombies. This might sound like it's coming out of left field, but let me explain. In terms of kill potential, this version of Deadwire is worse than the Black Ops 3 version. For starters, it doesn't insta-kill zombies anymore, it just does a whole bunch of damage. I was getting kills around every 3 to 4 uses at round 25-ish. But assuming you're getting kills, you're getting around 1 to 10 kills with a single use, all depending on how you hoard the zombies. Unlike previous versions, the stun effect only affects a single zombie, and when that zombie dies, some of the zombies around him will also die. So if you use Deadwire and move the horde away from the stun zombie, you're only going to get 1 kill, but if you move the horde towards the stun zombie, you'll get significantly more. So now I'm sure you're thinking, why is this version of Deadwire above the Black Ops 3 version when on average it's getting less kills per use? Let me explain. One of the benefits of some AATs in Cold War is that they also do additional damage to certain types of enemies. For example, Napalm Burst deals 50% extra damage to Plague Hounds. We didn't talk about that because it's not really all that helpful. Plague Hounds don't have a lot of health to begin with, but Deadwire has one of these damage bonuses. The additional benefit of using Deadwire in Cold War is an additional 50% damage increase when fighting Megatons, which is huge. Megatons are bullet sponges as is, especially if you're not going for headshots. So having an additional 50% boost in damage can really tip the scales in your favor, especially if you're not using Ring of Fire. It makes Megatons far easier to deal with, and when you combine that with the actual Deadwire effect being kind of close to the Black Ops 3 version, it's the clear choice for the number 1 spot. So that's how I would rank every alternate ammo type in all of Call of Duty Zombies. Let me know what you think of the list in the comments below, and leave your own down there as well. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.